Hi there. We're back reading from Murder in the Kollel. I hope you're all healthy, and we'll continue reading as long as people want to listen. Today we're going to read chapter 11, Pancakes. I got back to the Marriott at about 9 p.m. and nuked 2 of the dinners in the microwave. How they expected a grown man to live and what was included in a single dinner was beyond me. When they were hot, I placed them side by side on the desk, opened a couple of cans of pop, and ripped open a bag of chips. Nothing like good, healthy, nutritious food. The next thing I did was go over my notes on what we had done during the day. Then I reread them and made corrections. The attempted mugging was not included. As I gulped down my food, I retrieved the case file and began reading. I kept at it, reading the material again and again for almost 2 hours. I could almost quote every page. I put the file aside and took out my laptop and inserted the photographic discs. Before looking at the pictures, I transferred a copy of all the images to my phone in case I wanted to study the pictures when I was not near my laptop. I started my media program, and as soon as the first picture of the crime scene came up, I realized I had a problem. About half of the pictures were of the corpse. As usual, they were pretty gruesome, but as a policeman, I had seen thousands of similar pictures. In addition, I had never met the victim when he was alive. But how would Daphna be able to look at those pictures? Simple. I will advise her not to look at them. If she insists, I will try to warn her about what she's going to see. I do not know how she will react. Whatever happens, happens. I ran through the pictures a couple of dozen times and studied each picture individually. The police had made a video shot from the entrance door to the basement and then made a long single shot walking through the entire house as it appeared that night. Did I see anything in the pictures that made me suspicious of foul play? Not a thing. There was one thing that was bothering me. It was something that was not in the photos. The coroner's report said that the corpse was dressed in his pajamas, and after death, the body lost sphincter control, meaning he peed and or pooped. This was confirmed by the soiling of the pajamas. But where was the rest of the pee? The cloth of the pajamas can only absorb a small amount of the urine. Almost always there's a small puddle under the body. None was reported, and there were no signs of it in any of the pictures. My devious detective's mind is playing games with me, I think. Because if it was not suicide, then he must have died somewhere else. But if that was true, how did the body get up into the noose in the basement? He was not a small man. Furthermore, if he died somewhere else in the house, we still had no idea how the puddle of urine had disappeared. I knew that there were a number of physiological phenomena that could explain the puddle puzzle, but these were rare occurrences. Common things occur commonly. Rare things occur rarely. Still, it was strange. It was close to 2 a.m. when I put the file down and went to sleep. Morning prayers wait for no one, unless, of course, you're the missing 10th man to make the minyan. The alarm sounded at 6 a.m. and I was shaved, showered, and dressed by 6:30 a.m. I took a couple of minutes to fashion 3 bagel and lox sandwiches, and then grabbed my tallis and tefillin, phylacteries, my laptop, and the case file, and I was out the door. Morning prayers at the Kollel were at 7 a.m., and I did not want to be late. In the Detroit Bais Midrash, the prayers took almost an entire hour. Every separate prayer is recited with extreme devotion. Devotion takes time. This would not work in the Kollel. The 3 volunteers had to get to work, so from the start to the finish was 35 minutes. Nothing was skipped, but I would not be surprised to learn that the Almighty sometimes had a hard time making out exactly what was said in the Lansing Kollel. I turned down Rabbi Lipsky's offer of a hot breakfast. I showed him my bagel sandwich cash and headed for the Kollel exit. I gobbled down the bagels on the way to the Lachler household, and punctually at 8 a.m., I rang Daphna's bell. I heard a scamper of feet, and the front door was swung open by 2 eager young ladies. I bowed my head slightly and said in mock seriousness, "Good morning, Princess Susie. Good morning, Princess Eliza. You both look lovely." The girls stirred this hysterical and burst out laughing. Daphna came to the door and asked, "What's so funny?" Both girls pointed at me and said in unison, "He is." Daphna was wearing a baggy long-sleeve tan sweater and a black skirt. Didn't she wear anything that was feminine? The tent-like clothing she seems to prefer could hide the physique of an orangutan. But that was the normal outfit that frum ladies wore. Get used to it. She looked at her giggling daughters and asked, "What did you say to them?" With feigned innocence, I said, "I told them how ugly they were, and they started laughing." "I don't understand it." "What a liar!" screeched Susie. Eliza followed with a loud, "You did not. You said we looked lovely." "Me?" I asked. "I said you girls look lovely." "Yes, you did," corrected Eliza. Susie said, "And you called us princesses." "You ugly girls princesses?" "No way," I insisted. Daphna's daughters broke out in another round of laughter. "Are you calling my girls ugly?" Daphna scolded playfully. "Well, maybe they're just a little bit lovely," I said in acquiescence. "Girls, get back to the table with Bubby and finish your breakfast," said Daphna. The girls did not move. They just smiled broadly and looked at me. Eliza broke the silence with, "Are you going to marry Ima?" "Whoa, where did that come from?" "That's what Bubby says," added Susie. Daphna yelled towards the kitchen, "Mom, what are you telling the girls?" Mrs. Kalin's voice could be heard answering, "Nothing but the truth. And why are you still keeping Mr. Lincoln standing at the door? Invite him in for breakfast." "I'm sorry," said Daphna apologetically. "What are you sorry about?" "Well, for what my girls and my mother..." She did not complete this. "Well, never mind. Please come in. Mom made pancakes in your honor." Wow, pancakes. I've not had pancakes since I went kosher. My recently consumed triple bagel and lox bagel breakfast had suddenly become a lead weight in my gut. But there was no way I was turning down pancakes. "Sure, if it's not an imposition, maybe just coffee," I said to be polite. But my mind was on pancakes. She pushed her daughters towards the kitchen. "Get back to the table. Mr. Lincoln is coming in. You won't miss anything." They complied reluctantly. Daphna led the way into the kitchen. "How's your foot?" I asked. "Nothing broken, but still a little sore. I'll live." "Heavy-soled shoes. That's the trick," I advised. "Believe me, I'm going to remember," she said. The kitchen was filled with breakfast smells. Pancakes on the griddle, orange peels from the freshly squeezed juice, coffee just off the George Clooney machine. Very homey. "Have a seat," said Mrs. Kalin. "I'll have pancakes for you in a second." Just to be polite, I said, "Really, there is no need. You don't have to trouble yourself." Who was I kidding? My mouth was watering just from the smell. "No bother. If you really dirty the griddle, you can make one. You can make a dozen. Besides, this is the only place in the world where you get these babies," Daphna's mom said proudly. They are known around here as blueberry buttermilk pow pancakes," said Daphna informatively. The older woman said, "The trick is I heat the buttermilk and melt in 4 tablespoons of grated cheese." "Mom, they're good, but they're not that good," said Daphna. Mrs. Kalin just looked at her daughter and then at me. "You'll see." Daphna asked, "Did you bring the case file?" I said, "Of course, it's in the car." "Well, get it. I've been dying to have a look at it all night," she said. "You'll have time to read it in the car," I said dismissingly. "I'll have time to read it right now," she insisted. "I'm about to have your mother's pancakes. I wouldn't want to offend her. There's no time," I said. "There's plenty of time," she said in a bossy tone. "Get the case file. You promised." I looked up at Mrs. Kalin. "Is there time?" She looked at the griddle and then back. "Yeah, there's time." I did not like Daphna's demanding tone. "You did not say please." Daphna put on a false smile on her face and said, "Please." It took me about 30 seconds to retrieve the file from the car and return to my seat. I had a stack of 4 thick pancakes on my plate, a cup of what looked like cappuccino to its right, and a small glass of orange juice to its left. Daphna grabbed the file out of my hand and pushed away her dishes and cutlery as she began to read. I said the suitable pre-pancake blessing and cut off a wedge and popped it into my mouth. Suddenly, I had a taste sensation that brought tears to my eyes. It was so good. Soft, warm, creamy, sweet, flavorful, fluffy, tart, rich, etc., etc. Wow, were these good? Mrs. Cannon was asking me, "So, are they good or what?" I couldn't speak. I just wanted more pancakes. Daphna spoke without raising her head from the page she was reading. "Mom, why did you give him so many? He'll never be able to finish 4 of these pancakes." "Bite your tongue. Make me another dozen," I thought to myself. I was still in a sensory overload. The best I could do was raise my pancake-stuffed mouth from my plate and answer Mrs. Kaylin's question by putting a beatific smile on my face and nodding my head like an idiot. Defna's mom pointed at me and said, "See, he likes them. Bagels, move over. Real food is on the way." Before I knew what was happening, I looked down at my plate and was surprised to see that it was clean. No trace of the pancakes. Where did they go? I looked at the kitchen clock and suddenly realized that I had vacuumed up all 4 of the pancakes in about a minute. I also realized that anyone watching me, that is the Lachler family, also realized that to anyone watching me, that is the Lachler family, that must have been quite a spectacle. I raised my eyes to see Mrs. Kaylin, Susie, and Eliza looking at me in silent awe. Dafna was still flipping pages in the file, but with the silence, she looked around inquisitively. "What's going on?" Eliza broke the silence. "Boy, you sure eat fast." I put on a smile and said, in my defense, "The pancakes are very good." "Would you like some more?" asked Mrs. Kaylin. I knew the correct response was to refuse politely. I could not leave these people thinking that I was a pig when it came to food. So I looked up and I said, "Yes, please, I'd love some more." Mrs. Kaylin poured the batter onto the grill and said, "It'll be just a minute." "Bobby, I'm done," said Eliza. Susie followed with, "So am I." "Did you say the prayer after eating?" asked Dafna, her head still in the file. "Yes, Ima," they both said. Mrs. Kaylin added, "You have until 9 a.m. to straighten up your room, and then I expect you both in the den for morning lessons." Susie said, "Yes, Bobby." Eliza followed with, "Okay." They both got up and left the room. "What well-behaved children," I commented. They sure are," said Mrs. Kaylin in agreement. "Don't be fooled," said Dafna. "Do you know why they're suddenly so well-behaved?" "You mean they aren't always like this?" I asked. "Please," said Dafna. "They're acting like little ladies because my mother told them that if they misbehaved, you would not want to marry their Ima." "Their Ima being you," I said. "Exactly." "Why did you tell them that?" asked Mrs. Kaylin. "And why did you tell them that to the girls?" countered Dafna. "Desperate times require desperate measures," answered her mother. "Mom," said Dafna angrily. "Here are your pancakes," she said, sliding them onto my plate and turning off the griddle. "I'll just go check on the girls, unless you want some more." My mouth was already filled with pancake, and even though my heart was not in it, I was able to mumble, "No, thanks, this will be fine." As I ate, more slowly this time, I looked at Dafna. I now noticed that she was almost finished with the entire 40 or 50 pages of the file. She seemed to be scanning each page for about 5 seconds before she moved to the next. Very sloppy. The basic tenet of all detective work is studying all the elements and the facts in the case slowly and deliberately, and analyzing every word and phrase used by the investigating officers. Because very often subliminal impression seen by the officers will be transcribed as a cryptic sentence into the written report, and it will be the key to solving the case. Skimming over the case file was a no-no. She finished the file just as I was finishing my coffee. "George Clooney, you make a good cup of java." Dafna looked and asked, "Where are the photographs of the crime scene and the corpse?" "I wanted to talk to you about that," I said hesitatingly. "The pictures are pretty bad, and they are of someone you knew. Maybe you shouldn't look at them." She thought to herself for a moment and said, "You know that I salvage discs for a living." She waited until I nodded in understanding and then continued seriously. "I fix discs that contain information for businesses and private individuals. They need this information or else they would not pay me the big bucks to repair the discs. The thing is that there is also a lot of personal stuff on these discs, things the people who own the discs don't want anyone to see. I have to restore it all because I have no idea what the customer absolutely needs and what he absolutely wants buried. I have seen things that go from the ridiculous to the pornographic to the sadistic to sick and to maybe even criminal. I always say I've seen it all, and then along comes the next disc, and I realize that I have not. I know seeing Rabbi Klein's corpse will be tough, but I will be looking to help that wonderful man. I was not able to help him while he lived. He or someone else took his life, and I did nothing to prevent that. Maybe I can help him in death." I pursed my lips together and nodded. Okay, fine. I have the disc in my lap. You can see the photos in the car. Let's go. Don't forget to say the prayer for eating after eating pancakes, she said. I, as yet, did not know all the different prayers by heart. There was a prayer for just about everything you did during the day. I had to rely on a small siddur, a Jewish prayer book that I always kept on my inside breast pocket. I took out the siddur and looked at Daphna and said, Yes, Ima. End of chapter 11. Tomorrow we'll read chapter 12.